I don't want to show my cards right away, but I'm not going to be able to keep a straight face anytime we talk about young Brian. And I forgot I had that clip in there, and it just makes me laugh. I'll let the guest use the Dexter line for this evening. Cody, how are you?
Tonight's the night. I was like, what fucking line? You didn't prep me, bitch.
I thought it was like up on a tee.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're back. We've done this a couple of times. We did it a quarter of the way through this past season, titled Original Sin, and due to popular request, we're back with a full season spoiler.
hmm
Cody, I haven't watched your video, even though I should have. I saw
Well, I'm out.
your what the hell am I here for? I saw the subtitle was "I hate that I love this."
I hate how much I like this.
Yeah, see, I don't read. I don't pay attention.
Yeah.
Um, is that like is that a quick summary or
Basically, like if I was to sum up my entire review in a couple sentences, it's a mid-tier season of Dexter where I have significant issues, but damn, does like the nostalgia factor of like this feels like the first couple seasons just like soften all of those edges so much. So it's and we'll talk about it some and we've messaged each other back and forth where it's just like I fucking hate that this is working on me. I'm such a bitch.
yeah.
And that's kind of the tone of it. It's like they took the most cynical and manipulative route of like they hate the new shit. Let's just make it look like the old shit and we'll figure it out later on. And it works. It works. And I
To a
hate the fact
degree.
that it works, but it works.
To a degree. Gets a little
I'm more positive on it than you are. I know that much. But yeah, I have significant issues, but the whole time I was watching it after episode 4, I was like, these fuckers got me. Damn it.
I just know that our lover is going to cheat and beat us at some point. So
Oh yes. Oh
flowers
yes.
ain't going to do it as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I
Real
came home to chocolates and I'm like, oh, he's changed.
he is trying. Real quick, Marcy super chat. Hey Cody, Charlie boy, and chat. How you doing? How you doing, Marcy? Oh, you're behind the word. That's not cool. I can't change that. Why is all right? Well, you're gonna have to be behind the chat, the logo up there. And I saw another one. Marcy says, "I'm only here to ignore the subject and talk about Disney's Snow White remake." Just kidding. Well, thank you for that. We're gonna see if we can get around to Snow White. I wouldn't hold your breath, but that's that. Yeah. So we did a episodes 1 through 3 spoiler talk, which if we're a little rusty on any of this, go back there. I think we spent like 20 minutes an episode there. But yeah, as far as the beginning of the season is concerned, I I guess we should finish with our overall grade, right? And not bury the lead because as negative as I want to be up front, it really isn't that bad for me. It's certainly the most properly landed season in a very long time, which is, I
Mhm.
mean, some people that's all you need. Like just tell me a story, start to finish, and have it not be a train wreck. Which it is that it's sufficient. It's the first safe season, beginning to end, since what season 3?
Yeah, season 5 I think is safe to a fault, but either of those.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking like he gets they're engaged to be, or no, it is them at the wedding and the blood drops on
Mhm.
okay, so yeah, like it's just well wrapped up without any cliffhangers. Although I guess 5 does do that. All right. Well, it's been a while is the long and short of it.
Mhm.
Um so episode 1 does quite a bit of sending roses and chocolates to the Dexter fans' houses. And
Mhm.
we get a bit of fan service overlord and overload, excuse me. And to a degree, I appreciate it. And if it's, they certainly do cut back to get us reacclimated. Fine, it was a bit much, but they certainly cool off with that by the middle of the season. Um, is there anything that happened in the first couple of episodes, short of fan service things, uh, be it retconning or anything like that, that kind of had you concerned?
It's hard for me to specifically go back and remember
Mm,
individual episodes. I was more of just like an overall season kind of idea with some of those things. But I can tell you my concern from episode one is: are we just going to give 45-minute extensions to all the flashbacks that we saw? Because episode one is basically that first flashback of his first kill,
yeah.
just extended with a couple of other things in there, and I was like, "Man, like, this is the worst version of what I thought this could be." Like, you didn't give me any new info, you're just swapping the actors out and letting it breathe a little longer,
Mhm.
and luckily, they got away from that. I think the first episode actually is one of the worst episodes of the whole season.
I agree.
Um, it got you kinda acclimated into the characters, and I was like, "Okay," like, "Well, I don't know, the new Dexter's okay, we'll see where he goes. The new Deb, I don't know if I like her. I love Christian Slater, doesn't feel anything like Harry, so I don't know how I feel about that."
Not his Harry.
And stop giving Masuka lines. That was kinda my thoughts in the first episode. I was like,
ADR
"Okay."
lines.
Yeah. Well, actually, to be more fair, it wasn't his lines, it was that fucking laugh that I hated. His
Mm.
line delivery was fine, his personality was fine, but every time they threw in the laugh, I was like, "Oh god, stop."
Yeah, like, Masuka had uncomfortable humor at all lengths. It wasn't just strictly sex. Like,
Yeah.
he was like a weird scientist guy for, the entire series. To, like, refocus it and have him be like a poon hound, it was like, okay, um"
Yeah, he was the guy that couldn't read the room. And just every single time he opened his mouth, everybody was just like, "Really, dude?" And he hit that laugh or whatever. He would, like, fill in the dead space with the laugh because nobody would actually laugh at what he said,
Mhm.
and it pretty much always worked. It was
Yeah,
always some of the funnier moments, but then, yeah, for whatever reason, it was just like a laugh track in this, first episode, but all throughout the season, where half the time it wasn't even on screen. It was like ADR, where he would say something, then it would show Dexter's face, and you'd hear as he walked away, and I'm like, he didn't even crack a joke then. What was that? Um, but yeah, I mean, like, the first couple episodes about them just kinda getting into Miami Metro, and he's got his internship, and, you get a lot of that early sibling rivalry about how Harry spends a lot more time with Dexter than he does with Deb, and she's revolting in every way that teenage girls stereotypically do, and, really the season didn't start to kind of gain some steam for me until they started to get more into an actual season long plot, which took about 4 episodes. I
yeah,
remember, like, I think that was our overall point when we did our first 3 episode
mhm.
reaction, was like, this doesn't feel like a narrative flow. It just kind of feels like week to week episodes, like, you know
Member
what I
berry
mean?
greatest hits too. It's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah, so once they really started to get into, like, the kidnapper killer and the dude's, like, cutting off fingers from kids and stuff, I was like, "Oh, shit, okay, where are we going with this?" And then Dexter starting to learn the hard way with a lot of things, which was funny and kinda went back to that dark humor of the first couple seasons. At the same time, I was like, "Why did Harry just, like, totally let the leash off as soon as he got into Miami Metro?" That always felt weird to me. Like, as soon as he gets his internship, he just lets him do his thing. And,
yeah,
like, maybe 2 times throughout the season, he'll find out about a detail that Dexter let slip, and he'll, like, chew his ass over it, but other than that, like, for somebody that just let the dog off the leash, literally, like, been teaching him the code for his whole life, and now it's like, "Okay, now go do the code." I was kind of put off by, like, how much of a hands-off approach Harry took to it. It felt
right.
like that was a missed opportunity, if anything, of just having a little bit more of a Harry and Dexter storyline because 'cause we've never gotten that before.
Right. I think that's one of my main problems with it is I know what I wanted it to be. No matter how many phone calls I did or did not receive. I knew I wanted, yeah, fill in Harry tutoring Dexter. Let that be the intro and I'm okay with it and you had me at hello. And everything that I wanted it to be, it kind of wasn't. And anytime they flirted with it, it was like, okay, all right, so code is taught. Here's the nurse took trophies, but, that's one that I can probably circle around. But like you said, it like, when Dexter first gets to Miami Metro, he gets handed off to Angel, and it's just like, "Wait, so he's known Angel and Dexter have known each other since, like, the beginning? They've known each other for 20 years?" Um, and there are other moments too where over the course of the season when Harry would be like, "Dex, go get your sister," and it's just like, this is like the antithesis of like the flashbacks and things that we had for 6, 7, 8 seasons, and it felt like this, at least in the flashbacks in the OG series, there was like this mentorship where I don't know if I got that really at all here. And the like flashback to the 70s, I don't know how much was necessary, other than them like really hammering home that Harry really enjoyed Laura's company and Brian has always been an angry little shit. But other than that, like what was necessary about that? Because we've seen it.
Yeah, I felt that way at first. Overall, with Harry, I was so complicated with my feelings because I think my love for Christian Slater
Yeah,
clouds a lot of that. Otherwise, I'd be a lot harder on it. Because I think, like performance wise, I think he does really good. He just doesn't match up at all with Harry.
right.
And if this was like a full on reboot from the ground up, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, okay, cool, a little harder edged Harry, that's interesting. But this does not mesh with James Remar at all. James Remar was always a lot warmer, a lot more nurturing, fatherly. Like he would get on Dexter's ass every once in a while if he was about to fuck up. But even with the ghost Harry, like that was always the tone of it. And Christian Slater was always more of like the father with a chip on his shoulder. And I don't know. I was so complicated about how I felt about that. And then the flashback stuff for like the first couple of episodes, I was like, what are we really going to drag this shit out for a whole season? Like we fucking know. What are you going to tell us that we didn't already know from seeing these flashbacks, really variations of this exact scene at least 17 times throughout the last 8 seasons? And God help you if you try to retcon anything. So I was just expecting the worst. And what I'll tell you, although I do have a few issues with it, is that what I think it achieved was it gave me more of an emotional connection to Laura and her story and the tragedy of it. Because in the flashbacks, I don't know, she was always presented as kind of like a junkie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I never really had much sympathy for her. I mean, of course, anybody gets sawed up is like, oh fuck, they don't deserve that. But you didn't really get to know Laura. It's just like a junkie mom with 2 kids, and thank God Harry came along. That was always kind of the tone of it.
Hmm.
And when you watch it here, you really see like, yeah, I mean, maybe a mom that made some bad decisions, but she's a good mom. She's trying to take care of her kids. She wants to get out. She's doing this shit for months and seemingly sees no end to it. And then you get tangled up with Harry, and there's like this genuine love there that she knows can never really come to fruition. And aside from him being strangely cold to Brian, which is one of my biggest issues with the show that we'll get into, I liked seeing a little bit of his early relationship with Dex, give a little more context to why he immediately took that kid under his own. I didn't think that the secret dead son in episode 1 added shit. I thought that was such a nothing, and it just went nowhere. I didn't need that at all, and it was unnecessary. All that was is like, "Oh, see, this is why Harry was so determined." I'm like, "I didn't need that. I believed it before all that."
Drama
But
shortcut. Come on.
yeah, exactly. But I'll tell you, by the end of that flashback sequence when she was taken and she's in that cargo container and they show that shot where, Harry picks up Dexter and walks him out and Brian's just hovering in the corner and the camera pulls out and it shows all of her limbs and her fucking severed head was
Yeah.
sitting there. I was like, "Oh, damn."
Yeah. We didn't need
Like
to
that was
see that.
grisly.
Yeah.
And so that kind of hammered it all home for me. So I ended up actually liking the flashbacks by the end of it. I don't know if we needed as much of them as we got,
See,
but,
the problem with that, I agree with you. That shot is just gruesome. But for the weeks leading up to that, and the whole thing at season's end when they're talking about Brian, killers are made, they're not born, or there's a difference between him and Dexter. But the show was just beating it into your head that this kid's bad news, Brian's no good, even when Laura
yeah,
was alive. So, like, you're preemptively showing us that this kid's no good, giving him the Damien cam, like,
I
every
didn't like
time.
that at all.
So, like, in my opinion, I feel like that takes away the. I mean, it's a kid. It's a kid who's witnessing his mom, but like they're like beating it into your head that this kid's no good. He's going to be Satan someday. So hate him now. And it's like, well, but trust us as an audience to take the journey with you. You don't have to. We don't have to hate a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid. Like, Take an
That there
arc.
was a lot of that in the writing this season where they did not trust the audience. Even with
Right.
the Easter eggs, it was like, "Okay, how many times do you have to try to get us to see the fucking key lime pie reference? We get it." And I thought it was so fun in the first episode because it was just a
Just on
pie
the
in the
table,
background
yeah.
on her desk. And it was like, "Oh, that's cute." And then she mentions it like 6 other times, and their fucking boat's named Slice of Pie. It's like, you just don't trust me at all, do you? You think I'm
Yeah.
an idiot. Like, it's gonna take 8 episodes for me to go, "Oh, I get it." But, yeah, the Brian thing in the flashback was one of my least favorite things because I feel like it underserved the character, and I think it took away from Harry. Like, I think it would have been much more powerful, and it actually would have added to the tragedy of Brian and the way that we see things play out in the first season, and presumably where I think they're gonna go and maybe future
Mm,
original sins with him and Harry.
right.
We'll get into that a little later. If he was a loving father figure to both of them
Yes.
and
Yeah.
knew them both, like, you never had any hint whatsoever that he had any relationship with Brian. It was all about Dexter because all they gave us was when he opened up the cargo container, he could tell that one kid was fucking gone and the other kid was too young and he decided to save him. That was all the context we were given.
Right.
So if they recontextualized that as he loved both of these kids, and after the mom was slaughtered, luckily through the grace of his wife, he tried to take on both of them, but one of them was just too
Brian was
fucked
too
up
far
because
gone. Yeah.
well, he was older and more aware, so where Dexter is so innocent and just it goes along for the ride, the older kid is like, "Fuck you, you got my mom killed."
Yeah.
And so that would have been perfect, but having Brian have, like, these little fucking glares off in the background
Always wearing
and
black.
every fucking scene, like, he barely even acknowledged Brian.
Yeah.
Like, it was all about Dexter,
Yeah, all
"Brian, go fuck
draped
off
over
in your
Dexter,
room."
holding him
Yeah,
close. It's just like,
exactly.
"Dude, come on, man."
To me, that was so stupid. I was like, "What was the point of that other than just beating us over the fucking cranium that this kid was bad news when you didn't need to do that? You didn't need any of that."
Right.
Him protecting his brother and trying to calm him down for days while sitting in a pool of his mom's blood after he saw them s cut her into limbs. Is that not enough?
Yeah.
No. He was bullied by 17 different foster homes, and all the
And
his
comically
fucking
so too.
his yeah, his fucking orderly was taking his drugs and
"Now
selling
get
them instead of
yourself
giving them
one,
to him.
dickweed."
Yeah, I was just like, "What are you doing?" Like, this is such stupid fucking writing. So, like, that
Yeah.
honestly was my biggest issue with this season was the way that they did, the flashback with Brian and even how they kinda did some of the present day stuff with Brian because it didn't feel like anything that was necessary, and I think it actually takes away from the character, which is worse.
I think any sort of, uh, flashback slash retcons, it dilutes season 1
Yeah.
because Dexter finds out that his father, who's Laura's, I don't know, fuck buddy or whatever, he gives him blood or whatever. There's that one episode where, like, he it's a flashback, and Dexter as a kid makes a card for the person who gave him his blood, and he
Joe
inherits.
Driscoll or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
he inherits his house and all this other shit. Um, if you're to tell me that in Original Sin that Laura fell in love with Harry, this guy is getting in touch with Harry to let him know, "Here's my blood," you know, my
Well, no, I understand what you're saying, they're gonna have to address that at some point, but, what actually happened from my memory was that, Dexter had that accident, and then Harry, through his police connections, I assume, was able to track down Dexter's biological father.
mm,
So he got him to give him a blood transfusion or whatever. It wasn't like that guy was reaching out trying to help Dexter. So, that wasn't so much of a continuity issue for me, but they are gonna have to address that character, I think, at some point, maybe in the original Sin, to give a little extra something there. But what I can say is that I up to the point where him and Harry have that confrontation, which again would have been 10 times more powerful if he actually genuinely loved him as a kid.
mm,
When they had that little heart to heart and he's like, "I've saved your brother from becoming you.
mhm,
And if you don't want him to go down your path, you need to leave." And he leaves that message, "You're
you're
right."
right,
If they
yeah.
had just left it there, I would have been okay with it. I still don't think it was necessary to have Brian, but I would have been okay with it. But when they show one extra scene of him lurking in the background when they're fucking dancing at the Cuban restaurant, I'm like, "Okay, yet again, you're not trusting me as an audience member because you're trying to remember, oh, remember, he's actually going to be like still in the shadows. And you're going to tell me, barring if they do something else in further seasons, he's just chilling in the shadows for the next 10 years.
Preach.
And I brought that up and I had people in my comment section will remember Cody. He followed Dexter and he only actually engaged with him after he followed him and saw that he was a killer too. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to tell me that it's more plausible that he followed him that closely for 10 years and
Right.
never got a hint that he's a
Right.
killer like, when he's out every other fucking night doing something. So it doesn't make any difference to me. It's still like, okay, you've now diluted season one, where it presumably before Original Sin came into play, Brian had just recently finally found his brother or discovered his brother, did whatever, and then that sets forth the motion of the events in season one. Now he's just been in the background forever,
But
and I don't like that.
the other thing is, he's a bit Looney Tunes. He's a bit off his rocker. What we know from season one is he's a doctor. You know, you can't fuck around with that. So when
Yeah.
does he use his 8 years to be a doctor and like doesn't
Well,
alarm anyone?
I don't know if he's a doctor or if he just took that guy's identity, the Rudy Cooper or whatever his fucking name is, but he at least has to know
You
his way
you
around
got to know the
prosthetics.
lingo, and yeah, like you got to know.
And so he's got something. He's got some kind of education in there because yeah, he wasn't like totally going by the seat of his pants. Yeah, he was building prosthetics and shit like that. So there is some form of medical education that needs to happen in there.
It's just the problem of like doing mild retcon. Like you're the people. If someone, God forbid, is taking on Original Sin and then going to season one, that stuff that is powerful in season one really gets watered down, and that's
Well, yeah, I don't think this season is good at all for anybody who's a first time watcher. And I tried to
that's
tell a couple
bad.
people that in the comment section. It's just weird. Like,
Mm.
I mean, the season starts off by showing you the end of 9 seasons later. So, right off the bat, it's like, well, this is what happens in 9 years in case you stick with the show.
Bet you're wondering how I
And
got here.
yeah, it doesn't onboard you at all to
No,
knowing who Dexter is, who Harrison is, like, or Harry is. It expects you to have the knowledge of a Dexter fan, which, I mean, it's fine, it works, but usually when you do a prequel, you want that to half be a treat for the fans and half be an onboard for new
yeah,
fans. And so I thought that was very strange of a decision for them to make where it's like you can't appreciate hardly anything in this season without having watched at least a few seasons of Dexter. And if you watch this first, you literally ruin the entire first season of the show, which is significantly better than Original Sin, even though I like it.
I feel like if the writers trusted the audience, you could have done at least half of this season be Brian's prequel and
Yeah.
like show us why, it's so devastating that these two brothers are very similar. I would even argue make this season Brian's prequel. Maybe do flashbacks back to Dexter. I don't think they would trust an audience like that. I don't think they Showtime would trust writers for that. But the ability to challenge the audience just is not there. This is so safe, bordering on, I don't know, fan servicey to the max, and sometimes
Oh,
it's a bit
it's
heavy.
big budget fan fiction for
Yeah,
sure. Like
yeah,
to there's some good things about that, but there's some bad things as well. But that's very much what it is.
yeah, and
And
there's old school like lazy backdoor writing, like the earrings, the trophies. Like Deb steals those and then tries to sell them and then ends up giving him to her best friend, but Dexter goes out with this best friend just to get his stupid trophies back. And it's like, why are we doing this? What is this?
I actually really liked
I
his
hate you.
storyline with the
I
girlfriend.
hate you.
I don't disagree with your rationale, how stupid it was that it's set in motion, but it's not really a new thing for Dexter to get wrapped up in a relationship or something like that based on some other ulterior motive. I
Mhm.
mean, even his first date with Rita, he's casing the joint for somebody else. But, I thought it was fucking hilarious how much of a dweeb he is and does everything wrong, says everything wrong,
Mm.
has no idea how to entertain a woman, how to know how a woman thinks, and yet he fucking scores every single time. Like, when he's at that first date and he just orders a bunch of food just for himself and just, "Fuck all of you," and then, like, 5 minutes later, she's sucking his dick in the background. I was like, "That is awesome." Like, that is fucking hilarious.
Goals.
So, and then she breaks up with him because of the condom, and he's like, "I don't sure, well, we're breaking up, I guess. Okay, whatever." And then he goes to her for info later on, and she's parading the new guy, and he's like, "I don't know what to do with my hands. What is it?" So, like, that I thought that was some of the funniest stuff this season was just his awkward first relationship because he was, like, so far away from the goalpost of understanding anything that's going on.
But part of the problem with doing that is he was socially awkward, just
Yeah.
outright in season 1. How does he know to defend his sister when she nearly gets assaulted at the party that first episode, second episode? Like in season 1, there's moments where he's like, "Do you need a hug?" And it was just like this random he doesn't know how to read, social cues. So, how over the course of 15 years does he know how to do something as a teenager but forget how to do it? Like this is just if season 1 doesn't exist, I don't have the problem. But if you're telling me that he's got social issues, how does he know exactly the right thing to do for a sibling right off the bat? But when it comes to
I
s
think his instincts of saving somebody or, like, knowing a predatory situation's a little different than not knowing how to comfort somebody. Know what I
Mhm.
mean? I think when he opens the door and sees his sister passed out and a guy with his pants down, I think that fucking seeing red element comes
Yeah,
out that you see
the
throughout the
the
series.
predator phase, yeah.
Yeah. Which that was the one part of his performance. I thought Patrick Gibson did really good.
I agree.
I warmed up to him, and I think that he does about as good as a job as you can expect from somebody who's not Michael C. Hall.
I agree.
But the one piece of his performance, and I don't really know if it's they didn't give him enough moments to let that out, or if he just hasn't quite got there yet, was like the darkness moments. It's like, you know how Michael C. Hall could like change his face or like change his eyes, and like you go from dweeb to psycho in like just an instant. I don't feel like I ever got those moments from Patrick Gibson. Even when he's got somebody on his table and he's trying to, like, be intimidating, I'm like, You're just still kinda dweeby when you're
Yeah.
doing this." And I think he nailed, like, the younger, more naive, socially awkward version of Dexter,
He got
and it
some of
makes
those
sense that
mannerisms down too,
Oh,
like
yeah. Yeah,
the
this
the
oh,
swirling in a chair, the speaking when he eats thing, like, that's awesome. I would
yeah.
ask that season 2, like, Sky just said, let let the actor make it his own thing now, uh, where
Sky wants us to read the chat.
pretty please. I think I highlighted it, Sky. Uh, he's fucking hilarious. I feel like this next season, they won't tread so lightly. Um I guess that's in regards to, yeah, I don't know when that message came up, Sky. I apologize. But yeah, I think of all the actors that had to cosplay or be cover bands of, characters that we know before, I feel like the Dexter character is the Dexter character. It wasn't
Mhm,
someone being Michael C. Hall. There's so much of a blend where it's just like that's what Dexter does. And I would hope that they'd let him have a little bit of leeway in the second
mhm.
season. Whereas, you already said it, but Harry, I too enjoy Christian Slater. He has nothing to really work with,
Mhm.
for to put it politely. Masuka is certainly a hell of a lot more than a laugh. Angel is a lot more than an outfit. LaGuerta
I
was okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't really get enough of her, but I
Mm,
liked her because it felt like she was actually doing, like, a performance, not just, like, cosplaying as the character. And, I saw a lot of praise for the guy that did Angel, and I was like, "I don't like, it's not that he did a bad job, it's just eh Angel is such a specific character
change his
that it's
outfit.
hard
Now how do you feel?
it's hard to, like, replicate him without, like, making fun of him almost. Like, La Pasión and all the way that he talks, he's got a very, like, thick Hispanic accent on
Mhm.
certain words that is just a David Zayas thing, and so, you know, they didn't give him enough for me to really judge him one way or the other, but the whole time, he was the one that most to me was like Comic Con.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, and LaGuerta, I actually wanted to see more,
Yeah.
and you were talking about continuity errors, and that was the biggest thing that this season where I was just like, "Oh, be fucking careful." You're like, you're brushing up on the shoulders of issues,
Yeah.
and one of the biggest ones that I actually forgot to mention in my review, which pisses me off because it was a big one for me, was
Exclusive.
by the end of the season where she looks at the files and sees Brian Moser, sees that Harry's hiding it. Is it possible that 10 years go by and there's just so many names and everything else that she forgets that? Sure. But when the ice truck killer presumably is like the biggest killer that has ever hit Miami at that time, and then he's revealed to be Brian Moser, you wouldn't think that that would like fucking light bulb in LaGuerta's head if she saw that name and Harry Morgan all way back in the day, and also didn't add that up whenever she finds out that he's Dexter's brother in season 7, and, like, that creates a continuity error for me. Just that one little thing of her looking at the files, and I don't know what the purpose of that was, just to create some distrust between her and Harry? There's a million ways you could have done that. I mean, just him saying where she overheard him saying, like, like, "LaGuerta was wrong about this case, it's nothing," trying to bury it, and she overhears him. That was enough. She didn't need to see the fucking file
Mhm.
to be betrayed by that. So, that was an issue for me. The 10 years in the shadows for Brian was a bit of an issue. Um, I a big retcon that I had no problem with is that they told Vogel, "Get the fuck out of
Ugh.
here. We're not addressing you." Because I watched season 8 not too long ago, and she was very present during those first couple of Dexter
Speaking
kills
of
where
retcon,
yeah, and so I was nervous. I was like, "Are we gonna acknowledge that?" And for as much as I think it's a little shitty that, uh is it is this Clyde Phillips? Is that his name?
Clyde
That
Phillips
Clyde
is
Phillips seems very deliberate about
Scott
everything after season 4. I could
Scott
give a
Buck
fuck if
can
I
can
addressed that.
kick rocks.
Yeah, exactly. But that's one where I was like, "No, that's okay. I'm fine with that."
Well, yeah, read the room.
Yeah.
I, there was another one, and now I blanked, trying to think of Clyde Phillips's name. Uh, I guess the issue is if you forget all the retcon, if you're going into Original Sin cold, when you watch season 1, some of it isn't gonna hit the same way. Um, my problem is if we weren't Dexter fans, if we weren't riding this thing for 15, 20 years, what is this season worth to us? When you watch this, do you think, "Oh, I need to know what happens next?"
None of it.
That's kinda
And
shitty,
that's
and that we're all
well,
happy
and
with
I
this,
agree.
like, "Oh, thank God it was safe," and it's just like
And see, that's why I have the title that I do in my thumbnail, because I'm like, on paper, this is 100% of everything that I don't like for them to do. And it's basically everything that I was skeptical about coming to full fruition whenever they first announced this, and I did my little rant video. It's like, "It's gonna be fucking this and this and this," and it was all of that. But I didn't take into account how good it was gonna be to watch something that feels like the first season of Dexter again, especially after
Mhm,
being hurt so bad with the
mm.
last 2 seasons. You know what I mean? It was like getting a new relationship with somebody who's just decent, but, you know, you're like, "He's so great, he does the laundry." It's
He
like, "Bitch,
opens the
he's
door
supposed
for
to."
me.
Yeah, exactly. So, it was like that, but yeah, on everything on paper, that was kinda what I was conveying in my review is like, there's not really anything that this prequel does that enhances anything in Dexter season 1 through 9 for me. Do I get a little bit more of an attachment to Laura? Sure. Didn't need it, but it's there. Do I get a little more context to some of his early days in Miami Metro show? Sure, but didn't need it. Do I learn a little bit more about Brian Moser's first kills? Sure, but didn't need it.
Right.
And, didn't need to know that Harry had a son before Deb and Dexter that never gets fucking mentioned in 9 years. So it's the prequel problem for me. It's the classic prequel problem where it's more focused on Easter eggs and winks and remember berries and setting up little insignificant details to make fans go, "Ooh," but doesn't really add anything to the story.
So
Most horror or horror adjacent prequels have that effect on me, which is why I'm not traditionally a fan of them.
something that if you asked me 15 years ago if I'd be a fan of it. I'd probably say no because I was more like, "Ooh, it's a slasher with some cop drama elements to it." But I've kind of rotated in the opposite direction since it's been a while. Um, the relationship between Deb and Dex, like when they were getting high and just
I liked that.
like that, can we have more of that? I don't wanna see more of the fucking Laura Moser thing I've seen 25 times. Let me see them bond, and
Yeah.
you
You didn't
could've.
wanna see another guy that she's fucking that ends up being terrible?
Oh, Deb being Deb.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, "Oh, this guy's got his own apartment and his own yacht. I'm sure he's not into any bad shit."
Dude.
Like, "What are those guys carrying onto your boat in the fucking unmarked boxes?"
Yeah, I I I don't know what value it is, but it adds if anything, it adds to their relationship where it's a bit more believable that they have each other's back, and we
Mhm.
could have benefited from that, but I don't again, the writers don't trust us to just, you know, build characters. Uh, it the I guess, like, in the beginning, Deb was kinda like you 2 with your secret meetings and things. Uh, I got a bit of jealousy from that, and I guess over the course of this season and probably after they had their little brownie session, uh, there was something there, and I think it was either the next episode or 2 episodes later where they had scheduled a pizza dinner or something, and Dex had to go do Dexter things, and she was kinda let down, and I really kinda wish we circled back to that, but, he saves her from
To
boyfriend
me,
number 1.
the most fun scene that I had with Deb was the one you were talking about where they eat the pot brownies.
Yeah,
The most effective scene that we got out of Deb was where she's had, like, gone through all this shit, and then Dex and Harry go do their thing, and she's left at home alone, and she just breaks down. That to me was, like, if anything, the most effective piece of, like, she's always felt alone.
mm,
She's always felt like the odd man out. She's always felt like her feelings didn't matter. Other than that, it was just, like, bitchy, rebellious teenager, and, like, Deb has to say "fuck" every 4th word, so let's just keep doing that. And, the guy that she's fucking's gotta be into some bad shit, so let's make sure we have that happen once again. And so it was rough because I think that the actress did a pretty good job at nailing Deb, but what they gave her to work with was just, like, making her the most unlikable character for most of the season, and I wish we got more of those moments to kinda bring some humanity to her because, Deb is, like, so stuck in her ways throughout the entire series of Dexter for the most
mhm,
part, and I
hardened.
wanted to learn more about what makes her tick, and I wish that they would take their time more with this Deb's gotta be on to Miami Metro soon. Like, I
Dude,
know one of the things that we agreed on was, like, that they tried to do so many things in 1 season that almost like they didn't have any confidence they were getting a season 2, so let's do everything. Let's get her, set up for Miami Metro, let's do Dexter's first kills, let's do, a serial killer that's the captain, let's do fucking Brian's origin story, let's do, the backstory of Harry and Laura all in 10 episodes, and that's one thing that for her character where I'm like, maybe they'll do better with it if we get a season 2 and she's starting to come into her own, but that's something that it just felt like such a sudden thing and at the end where it's like, again, you didn't have confidence in me as an audience member to know that, yeah, eventually she's gonna join Miami Metro, we know, but having to shove the papers in front of Harry and like, "I think this is what I'm gonna do. Fuck everything else that we've been talking about forever," and Harry's response of, "I'm so glad. This is great." I'm like, "That doesn't feel like what
dude,
Harry would say."
and
I feel
that's
like he would want her as far away from that shit as possible knowing what him and Dexter go through.
right, and that's the other thing too. They make you have this newfound respect for Harry and Laura because of how heartfelt Harry is with Laura. But as far as Harry and Deb is concerned, they do more harm for that relationship than anything. Like when she's out with her boyfriend and Harry's like, "Dexter, go find her." It's like, do do you not give a shit or like what? I they really subtracted from that relationship. Like why is Deb so hung up on Harry? Everything I've seen in season one, he's an absentee landlord. Like, why does she give a shit? Because he
Yeah.
doesn't, or at least they didn't show us that he did.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know if they ever confirmed or if this was just left open and I filled it in myself, but I always thought that she became a cop after he died.
That's I. Yeah, I thought that too. I thought after he had his heart attack or whatever, she decided that that's what she wanted to do.
Yeah, 'cause, if I'm not mistaken, the flashbacks when he's dead, she still just kinda looks like a young girl, like, they dress her down. She's not, like, in a cop uniform, unless I'm mistaken, J-Dev will correct us, but for some reason, that was always my headcanon. So, I
Yeah,
don't know if you can call that a continuity error or not, but I just didn't think that that was necessary yet, where it's like, you can have her have that little look of wonder where she's talking to Sarah Michelle Gellar, and that would've been enough for me, but just having to hammer it home, and I don't know. I want more out of her character in season 2 for sure.
I don't wanna go too far into it because it didn't really bother me that much, but there was 3 or 4 times in that episode where strong woman was brought up, and it was like, "Okay, okay."
Hang on, Ryan's joining us.
Like, it's 1991, don't modernize it, and it was I think it was 4 times over the course of 10 minutes 'cause I think I did a reaction to it, um, and I remember the 4th time it was like, "Alright, we get it. You filmed this in 2024, uh, don't do that, please.
Mm.
I get it. Play to the modern audience, but don't beat us with it."
What
And
did you think about Patrick Dempsey's character and how all that played out?
I don't know how I feel about him being a villain because the last 2 episodes, he was something of a cartoon character to me. Uh, like, when he's taped to the table and "I am the good guy." I was like, "Ugh, not a better take than that on that
Mhm.
one?" I mean, he was obviously it was either gonna be him or Sarah Michelle Gellar that was the big bad for the season, right?
The other prequel problem.
Right.
Let's look around. Who is not here in season 1? You, who hasn't done shit all season, and you.
Black guy's not gonna make it because
Yeah.
other issues. Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
but
I
go ahead.
it's very similar to Christian Slater, where I just love Patrick Dempsey. So I think that warms me to the character a little bit more than what I would if it was anybody else. But I was really disappointed after they let us know his motivations because and I think I told you this, I think when we were texting back and forth. Like, I figured out by about episode 4 or 5 that it was probably gonna be him for the
Mhm,
same reason that you did, where it's like,
mhm.
okay, process of elimination. But whenever it finally revealed that he was the killer, I was like, "Okay, pretty fucked up. He's, cutting his own kid's fingers off and shit. What could be possibly his motivation?" And when it showed him plant the clothes at the cartel house, and he kinda staged that big shootout where they all get fucking massacred, I was like, "Oh, that could be really fucking cool." So he's like a psycho level captain who's tired of the bullshit red tape and tired of all the bureaucracy and all the stuff that he has to go through to get shit done. So he's just going to create an issue out there with these missing kids so that he can pin it on these different cartels and he can just waste them all because that's going to create a
Mm,
bit of a parallel with him and Dexter, where basically they're both doing some version of the justice system doesn't work, so I need to take this into my own
mhm.
hands. And I was like, oh, that's going to be really cool when he figures that out and how he navigates that. No, my
Divorced
wife
dad.
fucked somebody else. Ah!
Yeah,
And
he
I was
became
like,
cartoon
really?
about it too. It was just like
Yeah, and I guess maybe the kid wasn't his. Like, I don't know, but like to me, that was right there. It was right there, and then he's just like, "No, my wife," and I'm like, "So you're just kidnapping political figures' kids and your own kid because your wife fucks like that's lame.
yeah,
That's fucking lame." And then the I laughed out loud during the finale because, I mean, I guess at this point, the kidnapper killer is the biggest killer that has ever terrorized Miami because we haven't got to the ice truck killer yet.
mm,
And all they do, it just shows Batista like stick Captain whatever the fuck's picture on the whiteboard. It's like, oh, we figured out it must be him, and he's out there somewhere. Anyway, lunch and like it meant nothing that the captain of the fucking department was this psycho. They just whatever. They just wrap up the season like it because we know that Dexter got him.
it's Miami Metro, dude. They
There's
have
no reason to
such
focus on
ridiculous
anybody
turnover.
else. And talking about continuity, so then you fast forward, 12 years, whatever it is, and the Bay Harbor Butcher's one of us. How could this be? We've never been through this before. Like, I just thought that was so ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what
So,
happens when you, like, rhyme with yourself, like, how
yeah,
often Deb is with the wrong guy, how often Miami Metro just has the worst shit happening under their own roof. It's like,
yes.
can you spread out a bit?
Yeah.
Another
And
thing. Go
I
ahead.
didn't even think about this. If they don't know that he's fucking dead and he's just out there, why the fuck doesn't his name come up when the Bay Harbor Butcher shit comes up?
Ooh,
Oh, that captain that killed motherfuckers 10 years ago is still on the run. Maybe it's him.
well,
I
that's
didn't even
stuff
think
they'll
to
say
bring
for
that up.
season 2.
Yeah.
They have these moments where they can really have motivations challenge us, and like you said, I kind of was disappointed with. I mean, never mind his motivations, just how cartoony and shit he got in those last 2 episodes. It was just like, "Oh, wow. Are you, like, trying to be a Scooby Doo character?"
Mhm.
Another person that was essentially useless to me, except for this one little portion, Sarah Michelle Gellar,
Wasted.
name. Just a name, that's all they did because she was, I don't know if she was in certain episodes, and there was that one part in the middle where she had something of a gambling problem, or they flirted with it, like she
Yeah.
gambles on horses, and I was like, "Ooh, this could, sway her
Just to
motivation."
give him the idea for the M99.
It's such a backdoor, like, can you have it be challenging for dramatic purposes, not just a fucking backdoor to fill your stupid member berries? Or we gotta check
Mhm.
this box, so we'll do this. That's what Sarah Michelle Gellar's purpose was, to make sure that she brought something up that would have been neat in other person's hands, but M99. So here, bring up horse racing, and you have a bit of a gambling addiction, which,
Yeah.
I don't know, you could have had corruption there. And it didn't have to be like a level 10 serial killer thing. You could have had her like miss a case that Dexter has to clean up after because of her gambling shit. Like it just, they have these great ideas, but they just, when it comes time to follow through, they're just like, here, someone save it. Like they just,
Mhm.
they have good ideas. They just don't finish very many of them, many of them off. I mean, again, I'm glad that they went with this safe wrap up here,
Mhm.
but dude, we're gonna have 5 Dexter seasons over the course of what, 18 months if they keep doing uh the Trinity prequel. We'll probably get Original Sin 2, Resurrection, and Trinity on top of, well, that would be 4. But it's a lot. We're getting a lot of Dexter, you know, spread your wings a
They're
little bit.
yeah, they're gonna cake, Showtime Plus or Paramount Plus with Dexter content for sure. I mean, they said from the beginning that was kind of the motivation because it was the announcement that Showtime was merging with Paramount Plus that was followed immediately by, "We're Dexter and the fuck out of everything." And so I will be shocked if they don't do a Dexter Original Sin season 2.
Oh,
I think it's been successful enough. I'm surprised they haven't announced it already. They've talked about the Trinity killer thing being on. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a side story with Brian Moser at this point, unless he's just gonna be central to Original Sin for as long as that goes.
mhm.
Then we have Resurrection, which they've already said is not gonna be a one and done thing, so who knows how many seasons that'll run. So, I wouldn't be surprised if for the next number of years, you have 2 Dexter shows a year. You have prequel, spinoff, side story, and then you have Dexter Resurrection, and it just rotates like that. And,
The problem is apparently it's the highest watched thing, like, ever on Showtime, so people are still into it, so I'm worried they're going to flood the market.
yeah, I think that's exactly what they're gonna do. I just have to hope that most of it is quality. I don't know if the Trinity Killer is gonna be a more than a one season thing. Like, I feel like if they start doing villain spinoffs, those are gonna be one and dones. Original Sin will at least have a couple of seasons. Resurrection will have a couple of seasons unless the ratings just fall off a cliff.
They could do, like, American Horror Story and have them be, like, contained little one-season things. I don't know if I trust them to do that, but that would be an interesting way to go about it and
Mhm.
cover some of the other big bads if you need to.
The origin of Professor Geller. Um, what are some things that you would want for, Original Sin season 2? And why is Dokes at the top of that list? I don't
Yeah.
know if anybody can emulate Eric King, that's the only thing I'm worried about, but you gotta have Dokes in there at some point.
Well, it seems like they dropped the hint that we're gonna have Jimmy Smits's character because they went on a date and just shoved his name in there for the sake of shoving it in there.
Another thing of, like, don't trust the audience, like, okay, she's walking out of the house of somebody who's Hispanic that she's dating that looks like Jimmy Smits, and not only do you have to name drop him, you have to leave the line of, "He wants to be DA one day."
Yeah, like,
Like, you could have done it way more subtle,
how is that
and
valuable to anyone watching that? Like, all right, now that the
it's
season's over, what is that?
just a wink,
Yeah,
just a wink.
just a one night
Yeah,
stand. Here you go. Hey, key lime pie. Look at the name of the boat. Hey, look at the name of the
yeah,
boat.
yeah. Those are the types of Easter eggs that I hate. I like being able to hunt the Easter eggs, not having it
Yeah,
like, "Hey, guys,
when
remember?"
when it's on the desk, it was just like, "Ooh, nice. I like that."
Yeah, same.
But, man, they pointed all right, so season 2 of Original Sin, I it's gotta be Dokes, and you can man, you could start from the beginning with how Dokes starts to think that Dexter's suspicious.
Yeah, and he was dating LaGuerta at one point. I don't know at what point
Mhm.
in the canon that is. Maybe that's too far away. I really don't know. But if it's within the timeline, I wanna see that.
Yeah, does it have to be, like, 1992? Can we go ahead to, like, 2002 or something? Like, are we
Mhm.
are we, like, handcuffed to that year now? Because I don't know a Dexter fan who would be like, "Yeah, no, no more Dokes," because the most wasted too soon character in all of Dexter, I would say.
Mhm. Sky says LaGuerta fucked almost the entire Miami Metro PD. It could be any year.
That is true.
Matthews needs to be in there. Yeah, J-Dev, I agree. I thought it was weird that he wasn't in this season. Another thing that was like, he was definitely around, but okay.
Yeah, and yeah, you need him to be because I think they're saving Harry's death. Like, that's in their back pocket because, like, that's when you have to accelerate things. So,
Yeah.
Matthews knows Harry, so you've
I
gotta
was gonna
time those.
I was gonna ask you, do you think they're leading up to Brian being the one who actually kills Harry and he doesn't overdose, or do you think they're not gonna mess with that? Because that's one thing if they execute it right, I actually would be a fan of. Because it's not that it didn't make sense that Harry would do that out of grief, out of, like, seeing what he's created, but I've never loved that. So if it was more of a thing where he eventually comes back and they have much more of a heated confrontation, and then Brian just kills Harry and makes it look like an accident, makes it look like a suicide, and that's now the canonical way that he dies. Would you like that or would you hate that?
Well, canonically, isn't it he walks in on Dexter doing a kill, and he has, like, a
Yeah,
heart attack,
Dexter
right?
Dexter kills somebody that gets off the like, there's a scene where Matthews, I think it was Deb's birthday. Matthews comes in, and then they go in the kitchen, and then, Harry throws down a glass, and he's like, "He's gonna walk because of a fucking typo?" And then the very next flashback is Dexter cutting this dude up, and Harry walks in and sees it, throws up on the floor, and then, later on, I guess they reveal that he died of a overdose of his heart medicine or something like that.
Mhm.
So, does that need to stay how he died? Like, he just could not face the actual monster he created, or do you prefer it to where like, it just seems like it
How
doesn't
do you
add up to me a little bit, where, like, you have him being very aware of what Dexter is doing in Original Sin, and seemingly was always very aware, but just him seeing it threw him over the edge. That
but
was always a little much for me.
but if you have Brian, keeping his distance, how does he know that, he's got his opening as far as
Same
closing
way
in?
that he kills Dexter's biological father.
Okay.
'Cause doesn't he do kind of a similar thing where he makes it look like an overdose or something like that? Like, it's not a
Oh,
foul play
yeah.
type kill?
It can't be traced in yeah, I
Uh-huh.
remember that.
Yeah, so to me, that would line up a bit.
I mean, yeah, it's something of a retcon that you can probably not piss people off with.
And I think that he would probably do it that way and not, like, brutally kill Harry because he's not trying to hurt Dexter.
Yeah, I don't trust them to write it, though, whatever that's
That's
worth.
fair. That's fair. But just the idea on
The
paper, you're
idea,
cool
I
with
mean,
that?
they're good at ideas. Execution, they'll have it be some backdoor reason to bring up, I don't know,
Mhm.
one of Deb's boyfriends. I don't know. But I do think there's stuff to work with in a season 2, and, like I said, I think they're holding on to the Harry death to, like, I think once that is something they use, that's probably the end of Original Sin for them, and I I would like Dokes. Um, I would even like Mr. King to come back. You know, he still looks fantastic.
Black don't crack. Get your ass on stage.
Uh, I I'm greedy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get to see the entrance now. The surprise, motherfucker. Everybody's like, "Yeah, it's
Yeah,
him."
yeah, yeah. There are some things that I'm trying to think of any character. I mean, Masuka's laugh. You clearly did that without him. I don't
Mhm.
I don't know if you can do Dokes without Mr. King.
Yeah. I don't know either.
JDev asks if we think Geo will be in season 2. Isn't that
No.
kind of a
There's nothing.
that's the drug dealer guy, right?
That's the boyfriend. Yeah, I don't think there's anything left to do with that.
I saw something where they said that he's somehow associated with someone else in the later.
Estrada,
Yeah, that might be it.
Dexter
You might
Estrada.
have showed me that actually.
Maybe, I'm not sure. But no, I think that was just to have a little mini getaway for Deb. I didn't know what else to do with her. I don't
Yeah.
think that's a multi-season character.
How did you feel about the needle drops?
I thought it was very heavy in the first episode. It kinda mellowed out after that.
Mhm.
Um, I liked it more as the season went on. Like, when we had Alice in Chains in, like, episode 2 or 3, I was like, "Okay, okay,
Mhm.
I'm good with that." And then a few of the others later on, I didn't mind. I didn't mind that the show kinda went for its own style. I think that was
It was a
okay to
little
do.
stylish, especially in the
Yeah,
beginning. It was
the
trying to.
transitions and
Mhm.
stuff like that, it was a little more flash to it
Mhm.
than the original Dexter, so I didn't mind it so much. I just thought the first episode overdid it because there was, like, 4 needle drops, and it was like, "Jesus Christ." Which again, I think the first episode, I mean, it might be the worst episode of the season. If not, it's close. Like, that first episode, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people that had my reservations watched 1 episode and said, "Nope," and then never went back to it, and, hopefully they give it a shot because it is better as it goes along, but
Oh, yeah. If you watch
as a
season 8 and then this, you're like, "Oh my god, they fixed it."
yeah.
You right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Uh, I I don't know how I feel about Brian moving forward. Somebody brought it up earlier that Brian's gotta be in season 2. I don't know that.
I don't think he has to be. I mean, what else can they do with Brian aside from setting up him killing Harry if that's what they're gonna do?
He
What
that
else can they do with Brian besides just have him out there doing weird shit? And do I want another season where he's just out there stalking Dexter, even if it's a side story? We just saw that. So, even though I thought it was unnecessary to show him yet again creeping on him at the Cuban restaurant, I feel like they set it up where he's gonna be off, at least for a while.
if they show him going to medical school, I'll give them so much credit for doing
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Um, Marcy says, "Campaigning for Clancy Brown coming back on Original Sin, just because I love Clancy Brown, not because it necessarily fits any logical idea." Yeah, I don't think you're
No
getting
and
Clancy
no.
Brown.
I actually didn't like his villain all that much. I was never all that enthralled with him, but um I rewatched Dexter New Blood not too long ago and actually watched it, like, in binge format for the
Mm.
first time, and I thought I would have liked it more not having to wait week to week because it was such a slow season. I think I liked it less.
What
So
has
I'm actually harder on that season now than I was a few months ago.
what has bigger peaks, Original Sin or New Blood?
Original Sin.
Ooh, I don't
New
know if I
Blood for
agree
me
with that.
peaks in the first episode.
Yeah. eh,
Aside from, like, the, discovering the Museum of Death in, like, episode 8 or 9, I think that that's the only, like, true, like, high point of New Blood. Like, New Blood's tolerable for most of it. It's just slow and kind of mean-spirited and depressing, but there's not, like, awesome moments in New Blood. There's not.
Yeah, Harrison's annoying. I think the fact that he didn't have, like, a kill of the week every week, kind of I was kinda jazzed up about that. The
Mhm.
ending's atrocious, but I feel like I was more, I don't know, fired up. It was a slow build. I remember being really fired up towards episode 7 or 8, and
Mhm.
then it crashing very hard.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think I was ever, like, that excited during Original Sin where I was just like, "Alright, alright." And maybe it has something to do with knowing where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that Original Sin has these huge highs, but the moments where I got a good laugh, where I was enjoying myself, where I was really, like, getting into it, like, my emotions were more on the happy side watching a good bit of Original Sin than it was throughout the entire season of New Blood.
Oh, yeah, New
Like,
Blood,
what
it looks dank, like, it's just
I
not
mean,
a
everything
appealing.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they that's it's interesting because I think that they made the right choice trying to give New Blood, like, its own style and its own look,
Mhm.
but they literally every single thing that they changed made the show worse. So they take us out of this vibrant, colorful city and they put us in the most, like, drab gray town in New York. You take all of the fun, quirky side characters and you give us, like, the most basic bitch milquetoast side characters. You take away the warmth of Harry, you replace him with the bitchiness of Deb, just
Mm.
insulting him every single episode. You take away a lot of the fun factor, like, there's very little dark humor or humor at all in New Blood. It's all dead serious.
Yeah.
The main villain of Clancy Brown, like, I love Clancy Brown, but he's just kind of a greatest hits of other killers. Like, he's got kind of Ice Truck Killers thing with draining the body, and you got, the Trinity Killer thing of preserving the body's innocence in these fucking little mirror or little cases, and,
The Arcade of Corpses.
yeah, exactly, and then, you have Harrison that's just like a fucking
Oh,
wet blanket through 8 of the 10 episodes, and even Dexter, like, he's a fucking moron in New Blood, and it pissed me off. Every time I saw something, I messaged you, I was like, "This is pissing me the fuck off." Like, like, it's okay if he's gonna be a bit of an idiot the first couple of episodes. Okay, his first kill in 10 years, fine, he fucked up a little bit. But, like, he's chasing this drug dealer. He gets the information off by looking at the desk of the local sheriff's department to
thank
find
God
the
he knows
address.
police.
He goes to this guy's address, and he sets up the fucking kill room in his house knowing that they're gonna be pursuing him, and he hasn't even killed the guy yet, and what's he do? He looks outside, and the fucking cops are outside. It's like, why would Dexter ever set up a kill room where he knows the cops are going, aside from the end of season 6?
Dude, there's the other thing too that, uh, I'm surprised, well, I haven't seen it. Right off the bat, in the first episode, the sheriff, the Dexter's girlfriend, whatever, chief of police,
Angela.
Angela, sheriff or chief of police, whichever, she gets notified that there's a party at her house because of the Ring doorbell, which
Yeah.
shows you that there's someone at your door. Um, when you get some screws that were in someone's leg dropped off at your door, you can check to see who dropped those off.
Yeah.
No? Just not
Or
gonna
or
do that
even
at
the
all?
fact which drove me absolutely nuts the first time that I watched it, it pissed me off again the second time that I watched it. The fact that Dexter never picked up on the fact that she was suspicious as shit
Dude.
and lost all love, all, like, warmth to him. Like, she called him for that one episode where she finds the body of her friend. She's like, "I don't need Jim Lindsay, I need Dexter Morgan." And after that episode, she's totally cold to him,
Yeah.
like, doesn't give a fuck that he helped her. And you get the last 2 episodes of the season where he literally goes to hug her, and she's like, just uncomfortable and weird, and he says, "I love you," and she's like, yeah." Like, they lay it on thick.
Mhm.
And that motherfucker at no point ever thinks, "Huh, something's a little off."
Something I
He just
hate about the last half of Dexter, seasons 5 through New Blood, or technically Original Sin, I guess, is he doesn't learn. As a character, there aren't things that happen in those seasons where he's like, "Oh, this helps my character grow. I'm gonna do something different, or it's gonna, you know, embolden something I do in the future. Like he just things just happen and he gets bailed out, and if it doesn't, like he just doesn't learn things, and it's just what
Yeah.
what.
It drives me nuts how many times after season 4, like season 1 through 4 does a really good job at this character arc with him where he starts off introducing himself as somebody that has no humanity, no emotions, no compassion, nothing that makes you human. He just fakes it all. It's like
Mhm.
the first line that we're given after his first kill. And season 1 through 4 does a good job at showing him building those
Mm.
things through his relationship with Aster and Cody and Rita and Deb and the birth of Harrison. You know, he's literally on the table like, "You're a father now, you know what this feels like." And after season 4, I can count on probably 2 fucking hands how many times we get some kind of a reference, Dexter's inner monologue or something where he's like, "I don't even know what love is, but I think this is me learning it." And it's like, with Lumen? So you didn't have that with Rita? And then after Lumen goes away, you have fucking, um, Hannah that comes up, like, "I've never really known what love is, but I think this might be it." It's like, so fuck Lumen and Rita? Now it's her? Now you got something for blondes, buddy, but, like, everyone, he's like, "This is the first time."
He even did
And
it
so
he even did it in 6 during the, like, the religious one where he's like, "Oh, uh, fucking brother Sam, I don't agree with him, but could I be
yeah.
feeling something?" "Shut up. Just shut up."
Yeah, it's like, "Yeah, you felt that before, bitch. We were there." So that was one of the frustrating things because, like, in a perfect world, the show sets itself up so well with his character arc for a start, middle, and end, where you have somebody that has no compassion, no humanity, no emotions, nothing that resembles a human being, and then he gains all of that through all these experiences and meeting all these people, and even through loss and death or whatever. And you get to a point at the end of the show where he now has compassion and humanity and morals, and he comes to a point where me following the code contradicts my morals. Me following Harry's direction of don't get caught is going to contradict with the other rule of don't let an innocent die. Whether it's his son or whatever, you know, he has to make the choice of I have to die or I have to go to jail to save them.
Dude,
I have
that
to break the code.
that
And now they've,
stretch during season 2 when he had Dokes when him and Dokes were, like they were
yeah,
kind of
even,
flirting with shit going
yeah.
down. It was just like, "This is awesome." Like, it was more than 1 episode too, where it was just like, ooh, he, like, had the steak thing prepared for him and Deb when he was gonna tell her that, you know, he is who he is. Like, that
Yeah.
was powerful, and they just don't ever get to that again. I'm sorry, I stepped on you.
Season 2 is such a complicated thing because for me, it's like it practically ties with season 4 for my favorite
Mhm.
season, but I always hold a grudge against season 2 for being the 2nd season because almost everything they do in that season is like, "Bitch, that's your ending. What are you doing?" And so they fuck that ending,
Mhm.
and then you get to season 8, and it's like, "Oh, the exile ending's now fucked because you did it in the dumbest way possible." And then you get to New Blood, it's like, "Oh, the him self-sacrifice ending's gone because you
Yep.
did that in the dumbest fucking way possible." So I've tried to remain cautiously optimistic for Resurrection, just because if nothing else, I just want to see the confrontation with Batista. I want to see how that's going to play out. That's the one thing I'm holding out hope for. But I don't know how you end the show now because you've like ran through all your endings and just fucked it. And so now what's left to do besides kind of retreading familiar ground and just maybe doing a little bit better?
Dude, I wouldn't be shocked if they do some sort of prison break thing where it's just him running, and that kinda sucks, like, just as the idea for me, which, there's no proof that that's gonna happen, but
Yeah, I don't know. The only pictures I've seen is him like in his truck with Harry next to him, and Harrison's like a bellhop or some shit like that at a fucking hotel. So he's probably like looking at his son, like, you know, catching up with him or something like that, or like looking at him from a distance to see what
mm,
he's doing. So that's the other thing is how they're gonna start this resurrection that I'm concerned about. Because like, we have the cold open of Dexter Original Sin, where presumably Angela is driving him to the hospital because he's not dead, and they've revived him now. So is he gonna, like, face the music immediately in Resurrection? Batista's gonna be there, Angela's gonna be there, he's alive, but now he's going to jail, and then we have to get him out of jail almost immediately. Is he gonna fucking, like, pull out the IV and just walk out of the goddamn hospital in the first episode? Like, I really don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do.
it's funny, short of him killing the cop in New Blood, they could have worked around. But all right, he
Yeah,
killed an innocent. How do you wiggle out of that? Because if that was the only thing, you just take that away. You can kind
yeah.
of work with it. But he broke the code. He like I
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
I don't know. But I mean, we're having Uma Thurman and I think also um shit, what's his name? From Game of Thrones.
What?
Tyrion from Game of Thrones.
Did I tap out by then? I don't, hmm.
The guy who's playing fuck the chat,
Peter
Peter Dinklage,
Dinklage.
thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
so Peter Dinklage and, Uma Thurman, I'm pretty sure both confirmed to be, like, the new big guest stars. I don't know if they're the villains or whatever, but I don't know. I wanna know more. I wanna have, like, an actual trailer to Resurrection soon because I'm so puzzled with, like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, he lives, you told us that. It's just as easy as, "Oh, it's he just didn't get shot in the heart and it was cold out there, I guess." But
Yeah.
where do we go? Because how they transfer from the ending of New Blood to kicking off Resurrection is gonna mean a lot,
It
and we'll call bullshit pretty quick if it's something stupid where Batista shows up and he's just like, "Oh, well, good, I have this other case. You wanna help me look at it?"
Ye Yeah, it's time to take Dexter, like, unless you're doing like it was all a dream and figure out where to restart from. It's time to take Dexter away from being an anti-hero and start making him the antagonist. Because
Yes, I
just
agree.
just follow the Breaking Bad book and just
I
make him
agree.
full bore Walter White.
I had that same conversation with my dad last night. I said that was the biggest thing that they messed up on with the later seasons of Dexter is at no point did he ever become irredeemable.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
and Walter White had a number of those moments for different people where they're like, "That was the last straw for me." For most people, I think it was the end of season 4 where they show that he poisoned a child to manipulate everybody, and then from season 5 onward, he's straight fucking
Yeah.
villain. Like, he just does not give a shit. His tone has changed. There's nothing friendly because you can't fully enjoy an ending where he has to face the music if you're still rooting for him.
Right.
And I love the character of Walter White, but I wasn't, like, rooting for him by the end of it. Like, I wanted him to take out the other bad guys, but it wasn't like, "He better live." You know what I mean?
Dude, Ozymandias is such a powerful episode
Yeah.
because hey, yeah, consequences, stakes. Look what happened. Uh, and like it's a shame that Breaking Bad and Dexter ended at the same time because it was like, here's
Oh
how you
god, yeah.
close a show. Here's not that.
I remember every single week just being like, "Oh
Oh,
my god, this is beautiful," and
yeah.
then the very next thing, "Oh my god, this is horrible."
Didn't they
Just
air at the
went back and
same
forth.
time too? Where it's just like
Yes, yes.
choose your
I think it
path.
was like the ending was like a week apart from each other, but yeah, they were
Oh,
airing simultaneously on
on
different days.
Sundays.
Yeah.
Brutal. I I just don't know. I think the creators, I mean, I hope for their sake, for the sake of storytelling, um, these prequel things work so that they can figure out how to close the original story. Um,
Mhm.
but I think they actually believe the Dexter's a superhero storyline from season 1 or 2, where, like, when he goes to the
3.
comic book store and
Dark Defender.
yeah, it's like he's a bad guy, right? Like
Mhm.
you're aware that, he's Tony Soprano, he's Walter White. He's not Captain America. Please
Yeah.
stop.
Gavin Moon asks, "Did Brian say if he had a favorite episode or season, Cody?" No, he did not. He just watched every single season of Breaking Bad finally and chose to not make any content based off of it, even though I totally welcomed myself. I'm like, let's do something together. Now he's covering Wes Craven and everything because he doesn't do horror anymore. Fucking dick. So no, I don't know why he didn't do at least a ranking or something, but no, Brian's lips are sealed on Breaking Bad, I guess.
Huh, it's interesting.
I know he loved the show, but yeah, he didn't really elaborate beyond that the
Has
way that
he
I'd hoped he would.
has he watched Better Call Saul yet?
No.
See, that's something I
I
have
think
to
he
think.
bought it. I think he bought it. He said he wasn't gonna buy it yet, and then he's like, "You see this in the background?" I was like, "Yeah."
Sky says Dexter is Batman. Actually, It- yeah, but you've kind of broken that down. You can't. He's already done bad things.
Mhm.
Again, unless you're gonna like wash our hands of it and be like, all right, here's Stokes. Everything after season 2 didn't happen. So here, I, I, as much as I am kind of appalled by the idea, considering how much they've missed, and my problem with how, I don't know, confident they may or may not be after Original Sin, I don't know about your feed, but mine, all the Dexter content creators that I see are, you know, good job. I saw someone say that this is the perfect way to do it, and I was just like, oh
I've seen the word perfection a lot.
yeah, I don't give them confidence. If anything, it was safe.
Mhm.
I w- like what is resurrection going to be if original sin is perfection? I guess
Yeah.
is my question. Like what how do you move forward from a dead
I
character?
got that same treatment all through New Blood, though, and nobody agreed with me until the finale happened, then everybody got pissed.
The
Because
last
I was
20
doing week to
minutes.
week yeah, I was doing week to week episodes reviewing New Blood, and any critique that I brought up was just like, "This guy's so negative, he doesn't like anything," and like, "Dexter's back, and you should just like this," and you always get that from certain fans that it's just so frustrating. It's like, you can be honest about things that didn't quite work for you, doesn't mean you're negative, doesn't mean you hate the show.
Yeah. Um is it a problem that Dexter is pseudo a horror character? Cuz I feel like some of the horror fandom trope follows through on that. Like, I don't care. I just need more Dexter, and it's just like, really, you'll take 40 seasons of it and not really care about how the quality is.
Some people are that way with things they like, yeah.
I I mean, if you enjoy it, like right on. But I want something challenging, and like I want to see the characters grow and things. Like
Mhm.
I don't want to see Dexter Voorhees just running and slashing a bunch of people. And tune in next year for the same shit. I I
Yeah.
I I don't know. I'm not trying to, pick on fellow fans in the community, but there are things that are thrown around that, don't give these people confidence. Just look at Marvel. They're I haven't seen Captain America yet, but it seems like not doing too well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's the problem. If mid is perfect and this is just what we needed, then, you know, that's their bar. They're just gonna try to be safe and mid. And I don't know, Dokes and Dexter chained up in a cabin. That wasn't mid. That was very challenging.
Uh-huh.
And there was some serious shit that was going on in those things.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes when we get a whole lot more.
Yeah. So if you had to grade, I'm not, not saying ranking or anything. If you had to grade out of 10, what would you grade Original Sin?
I usually do my ratings out of 5,
Okay. Cut it in
so,
half.
yeah. Isn't it weird, though, how different it feels? Like, saying 3 out of 5 sounds way better than 6 out
6.
of 10.
It does.
Anyway, it's so weird, but, I mean, I would probably give it, like, around a 3.5,
Huh.
and that's when I'm in a good mood. Maybe I'd be a little stricter on it beforehand. Like, to me, like, they have different tiers of Dexter. You have, like, top tier Dexter, which is season 1, season 2, season 4. You have, really good Dexter, which is season 3, season 5, season 7. And then you have, like, you know, I would say this is better than season 6, but not quite as good as those 3 I just mentioned. It's, like, somewhere in between, and then the only seasons that I'm really inherently negative on is 8 and New Blood. Like, I even find redeeming factors in season 6 for as much bullshit there is in that season. So, it's somewhere in that middle area for me as far as seasons go. Like, it's not as disastrous as the bottom 2.
Yeah.
There's more going for it than season 6. I don't think it hits the highs of season 3, 5, or 7.
Yeah.
And I'm more forgiving on season 5 and 7 than most people, especially 7. People tend to hate that season.
Seven's the jewel of the back half. I
Yeah.
think seven's the closest thing to anything resembling the first 4 seasons out of
Mhm.
that tail end. I would say there's now 10 seasons of Dexter. I don't think Original Sin would be in the top half, which is the top 5.
Yeah, it
And
wouldn't be for me either. It would be 6 or 7.
and Troy nailed it. It was pretty good for a fan film. A very right, a
Yeah,
very high budget fan film.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I I don't know if this is something I would go back to and watch for any reason, to be honest with you. But it's a building spot. I mean, there's people who, you know, did the character right, and, I would say let these actors make it their own in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they did a good job at getting a lot of Dexter fans back into their good graces again, somewhat.
Some of them,
You
I don't
gave
think it
you
was
ga
that hard.
I don't disagree. Some people love safe.
He looked in my eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
Yeah,
but it's really gonna depend on how they follow through with Resurrection, because what a pickle they'll be in if people hate Resurrection and they're like, "Give us more of that prequel."
that would be weird.
Yeah.
Dude, if they fuck up Resurrection, they have to just redo it. Like, how do you fuck up 3 endings?
I don't know. I don't wanna say it's impossible because I would've thought, "How do you fuck up this ending twice?" I would've thought there was no possible way New Blood was not gonna be awesome. No possible way. And that's my least favorite season, notwithstanding season 8.
Jeez. It J Dev says if they bring Hannah back, they'll be in my good graces. Dude, she's in other things, man. Just an actress. Um,
Go
w
find something she's actually naked in and just
she's in
release yourself.
she's basically naked in season 7. Uh,
Yeah.
it what is something that moving forward, whether it be Resurrection or more Original Sin, would be a positive that you're, hoping for, and what would be a negative that you think, "Oh, they're gonna go with their old habits?"
Um, a positive for me would be if they found a way to kind of take what they set up in New Blood as far as the setting and as far as, the story and everything, but kinda get back more to the tone of the main show. Because I do think a lot of that personality was missing in New Blood, and I don't want to see, the fucking the Vaseline cinematography of New Blood again. So if they can continue that storyline, finally pay off the Dexter Batista thing in a way that's not fucking stupid, and just get back to the charm of it, I think that you'll go a long way with me for that. I just don't know what the story is, and that's the thing, like, presumably, we're gonna have somewhat of a traditional Dexter season where there's gonna be some big bad that Dexter's gonna be pursuing or coming to a head with that he'll probably put on the table by the end of the season, but how does that work in with him being discovered? How does that work in with Angela being on his ass and Batista being on the way to New York? And God knows who else comes in from the original show if they do. Like,
Right.
I just don't know how those 2 things coexist. So, like, if we're gonna do a Dexter on the Run season, that's fine, but I'd like to know that sooner than later. If we're just gonna do a traditional Dexter season where they wrap up he's got plausible deniability or something, but Batista's got his eye on him, that's gonna be disappointing for me. Like, I want there to be some stakes to it, but I just
Mhm.
don't know how you have genuine stakes and continue the story. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yes. Yes, and, like, that's kind of both of the negative and positive that I'm expecting and hoping for are kind of from the same thing, like, okay, you've painted yourself in a couple of corners here. It seems like you're just signing up a whole bunch of new serieses real fast. Can you take the time and figure out what the path is moving forward with this thing? Because it seems like you guys really like writing shortcuts and not really considering the scope of the things that you've introduced most recently. Uh, just the last episode alone, how do you untangle all of that? Um, the part that I'm optimistic about is okay if they do their work, if they do circa seasons 1 through 4 type stuff, it could be really challenging. Like, oh, the guy Dexter who we thought died in a hurricane, he's alive and he's actually a murderer, and like we have so much to go over from the past. Like, okay, I'll take that. But knowing what I know about them, and the fact that the Original Sin was just safe, uh, it, I don't trust them. I really want to, and I've been watching just a season or two behind you. Uh, Watching old Dexter reminded me that, man, when it's good, it's really good. But
Yeah.
when it's bad, it's really bad. Like
Yeah.
comically bad. But
Yeah. Like,
there's potential.
I there's a way that they can make it realistic that the case doesn't hold up against Dexter
Hmm.
and they have to let him go, but now Batista's fully fucking convinced that he's gonna underturn every single stone, and he's gonna go back to the drawing board, and he's gonna be pursuing him on his ass. There's a version of that that maybe they can pull off
What if
him, but it
what if Dexter slides through the system and you introduce Dexter 2.0? Someone who wants to take Dexter out because he slid through the system and he's not a good guy. Your big
that'd be
bad
interesting.
is a something of a segue character. They're not gonna do it because it seems too high profile, but,
Uh-huh.
um,
It's an interesting idea.
yeah, I'm just so worried. Like, they keep luring you back, and Original Sin was just okay enough where it was like, "Alright, I'm intrigued. What else do you have to show me?" And I'm gonna get hit in the face. I'm certain of it.
JDev says, "When they said Hannah died off screen in episode 2 of New Blood, I was already checked out. What a dumb decision." That was your big problem with New Blood? That's wild, man. You got some serious dedication to that character. I like Hannah in season 7, but most people hate Hannah,
Dude,
like, on the level of Vogel.
her in season 8 does not make sense when compared to her
No,
in season 7. And the fact
no.
that Deb and her get along is doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Are you good for a couple minutes? Can we open the floor up to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
chat? Um, uh, JDev clarifies that his first problem with New Blood was that. And Sky says, and it looks bad. Yes, it's
Yeah.
very, very gray. But you guys haven't been to New York in December because they got that look nailed. And enough with the red herrings. The billionaire dude, just what was that? They did that again in Original Sin. And I forgot what the hell it was. The first 3 episodes, it was something, and I was just like, hey, was that important?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it clearly didn't stick with me. Uh, Sky says, my first problem with New Blood is that it started with Dexter fucking a cop. Well, he's got to have an inside track to something. Uh, Marcy says, Banks, not Banos. If I want to kill someone, it has to be the person that invented autocorrect. Oh, unless they've been killed by someone else, that wouldn't be surprised. All right, so that was a, I don't know. Ed Olson, the marshal from Lost. What? Are you guys having your own private conversation? So the floor is open to the chat if
Stay
you have.
on target.
uh, let me see. The super chats were loading gray. I don't know why that was happening. So Marcy had an off-topic question. I have heard a fan casting of Michael C. Hall as Hush. In my opinion, he would be good, but I don't want Michael C. Hall to be typecast. What? Hush? That Batman
Hush the
shit?
Batman villain. Yeah, I mean, look, if they said that Michael C. Hall was playing a villain in a Batman movie, I'd probably get a fucking boner, but I don't know how focused Michael C. Hall is on acting beyond Dexter nowadays. He's got his band that's touring.
Mm.
Apparently, he's got a couple of years minimum set with this show. So, I mean, he was never really big into movies. You see him pop up once in a while, but he was always more of a TV actor. So, I don't know. I don't think that they would be going for anybody like Michael C. Hall. I think that they're pretty determined to like pick off kilter picks for all of their casting, like they did in the first Batman.
Yeah. I don't think he's much of a movie star person. I think he likes to like he's brought up his band. He does stuff on Broadway. I think he likes being, a little bit of everything and doing a bunch of different shit.
Yeah.
Like I think New Blood was just fuck it money for his band, and why turn it down if they're throwing you a ton of money to come back?
Mhm.
Michael C. Hall is making bank from Dexter stuff now. He's also executive producer for all shows. Yeah, he's been EP for a very long time. I
Yeah.
mean, he even shoehorned some of his band's songs in New Blood and
Yeah.
retroactively changed M99 for a song title.
Uh-huh.
But you know, he's got that fuck you money. Uh, Ghostface Wheeler says Dexter should become a soap opera. Dexter having a twin brother. I mean, I don't. If you can restart from that, it, it's not the worst idea, which is atrocious. That shows you how many bad ideas they've thrown out there. I don't remember him being an executive producer for New Blood. He is. Uh, maybe he was just produced. Well, he was in the last half of the OG series. This guy says he's
Yeah.
just. What was that?
Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, the floor is open. We're just talking about Michael C. Hall now.
Did
Gavin,
you
thank
finish
you.
watching, Cobra Kai or any do you watch
I
Cobra Kai?
never
Never did?
started. Never
Oh.
started. Is it
Do
finally
you like
over?
Yeah, it just ended. Do you like the Karate Kid movies, or are you wrong like Brian?
Oh, I'm not Brian. I like them. The fourth one is a thing. The one with Will
Yeah.
Smith's kid is
Yeah, I don't really
happened.
acknowledge those 2.
Okay, because I thought didn't they bring Jackie Chan into like the tail end of this
No,
series?
he's
Or
doing a movie
oh,
with, Ralph Macchio here in a couple of months, but yeah, if you get a chance, I think I'd be curious to see how you like it. It's
how,
a fun show.
how many seasons? 4, 5,
6, but
6.
they're quick. Like, you binge them quick. They're like
Okay.
40-minute episodes.
All right. Gavin says, I don't think it's going to happen, but how would you feel if they bring back Harrison and try to fix his character? They're going
They
to
are
have to
bringing
fix
him
it.
back. They are bringing him back. Like, it's for sure. There's already set photos of him. It's literally gonna be a sequel to New Blood. So I don't know how they're gonna fix his character. I don't know what the whole story in there is gonna be where, he killed his father, now he's moved on to just be normal after you do that, because that's definitely normal. But yeah, I don't know what that's gonna end up like, but he's in it. Harrison's in it, Batista's in it. That's already been confirmed.
Yeah, no, it's fine, Gavin. I think there is a way to kind of fix it or repurpose the track. I think if they take Harrison and make the fact that he killed his father be like something like a dramatic turn one way or another, like oh, either he's shook by it or something else is growing. He's got his dark passenger from it. And, don't make him a whiny bitch. Let him pass through puberty and have if you're gonna repurpose Dexter and Harrison and try again for the tutelage, I, I would be okay with that. I think it's such a
It's all
shame.
gonna depend on how they write him. Because man, like 8 out of 10 episodes of New Blood is just like, "Fuck you, dad, I don't wanna talk." And
Oh,
then he leaves, and Dexter's like, "Ugh, I got something else I gotta
mm,
do." And when he finally fucking tells him, like, "I have a darkness in me, and my father taught me this code, and blah, blah, blah," and Harrison hugs him, you're like, "Thank God." And
yeah.
then everything after that was great up until the very end.
Are you gonna
So
give me a
there's a
ride to school
way.
or have to walk again? Fuck you, walk.
Yeah, exactly. "Leave my
Aaron,
jacket, bitch, that's mine." But, like, there's a way that you can do it if, like you said, if Harrison's dark passenger is still there, which sensically it would be. Like, back when we thought New Blood was the ending of the show, I always thought that was fucking stupid. I'm like, "This kid is psychotic,
hmm
and you're actually trying to convince me that shooting his own father is the medicine."
right,
No. And so if Dexter tracks him down and starts following him and realizes that this kid is fucked,
yeah.
and he shows him like, "Hey, you missed, bitch," whatever.
You're a terrible shot, asshole.
Yeah, exactly. Um, there's a way that they can do that. We'll see.
Funny you say that. Aaron asks, "Are any theories on how Dexter escapes custody in Resurrection?"
I think the only way that it's gonna make sense is if they just can't build a case against him, and Angela gets in a lot of fucking trouble, and he's literally shot, and he can make up whatever story he wants because she let
Oh,
Harrison go, gave him fucking money,
and
so
she
he can
called
make
it
a
in that yeah, she had a
yeah, so
officer-related shooting. Hmm.
yeah, so I think there's a way where if they're gonna go that route where the case was flimsy as fuck, that's one of the reasons why a lot of us got pissed that he panicked and killed a guy. It's like,
Yes.
"Dude, you can beat this shit."
Mhm.
She "Oh, there's ketamine here." It's like, "Well, I used M99 for, like, fucking 15 years, so we're good there." And, all of the circumstantial stuff, like, he can beat the case. I just don't think, she's already rung the bell, so to speak, with Batista, and that's what's gonna be the lingering thing that's following him is not the evidence that Angela was able to put together. It's, "Oh, the one fucking guy who's gonna be able to actually make this shit stick and put all the pieces together now is aware." So if they can do that successfully where Dexter beats the Angela bullshit and is able to get out as soon as he's healed, and now Batista is just in the background hunting him or whatever's happening, there's a way that they can do that. I just don't know if I trust them to do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
there's
all the people involved with New Blood, I was like, "Oh, good, they're getting the people back from season 1 through 4," and then they fucked that up. So, it's not like I can really trust them.
yeah, one of the things I saw, again, I'm just going on, like, things I'm getting suggested in my feed. Someone's like, "Why Lumen needs to come back?" I'm like, "Why Lumen needs to come back? What the fuck? Why is that the thing that you want?"
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. Some dream casting is I'd love
I
to have a
wouldn't mind seeing him in
conversation.
Lumen again, but if they find a way to make it
How do
make
you
sense, but
connect
I
it?
don't think it's
How do you
necessary.
connect it? Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying this season, but, like, eventually if he came across her or something, sure,
okay.
but, you don't need it. I think her aside from the fact that I think Deb should have discovered his secret by the end of season 5, her
Mm,
having her darkness escape, being removed because she got vengeance, I was fine with that as an
yeah.
ending to that character.
Maybe her IOU type thing, like, "Hey, thanks for bailing me out. Here's your one in return. I'm gonna help you lay
He
low
shows
for."
up out of breath and, like, fucking in a hospital gown, like, "It's time to pay up, bitch. You help me, now fucking help you."
Give me your basement.
Yeah.
So Marcy says, Cobra Kai topic. I thought it was weird that characters didn't acknowledge Terry Silver and Kreese was missing after episode 13, especially after Johnny had his moment with Kreese. Hope you understand any of that because it's all Chinese to me.
Yeah, I don't think that matters. That wasn't an issue for me at all. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't think anybody cared about those 2 characters. They were just focused on their own shit,
Hmm.
so
Uh, have you seen 6 Feet Under? Michael C. Hall's character in 6 Feet Under.
I have not. I've heard he's very good in it, but the premise of that show never really interested
Yeah,
me.
it's bleak.
Yeah.
People that it's just death. But
Yeah.
he plays a gay character who's got the secret. Very similar in a different way. That he's got a secret that he's keeping, but very. It's a good show. It's just man, you need a ton of antidepressants when you watch that shit.
Yeah.
Um, CeePo's right. Oh, Michael C. Hall's executive. Could Dexter be Harrison's version of Brian? Following him around and whatnot. Oh, so Dexter stalking Harrison? That'd be cute. A
Possibly.
nice little way to
Possibly.
tie it into,
Mm. Leave a little
original.
Barbie in his fucking freezer.
Yes, I do wanna play a game.
Jada, that's a wild theory, sir.
Lumen won't return, is that one?
No, way before that. It says, "My theory is that Harrison returns to the crime scene and kills Angela and drives her police car to the hospital."
Oh,
I would not be a fan of that, is all I will say. I don't see any reason why he would do that.
yeah, because right off the bat,
And they
you
literally showed him, like, the whole ending
driving
credits
out, yeah.
of it just driving out of fucking New York. So,
Yeah, you'd automatically hate him from the start, like, he's already broken the code, which I don't know. Like you said, I mean, you have the season finale, your show premieres in June. We're 4 months away. Give us a teaser.
uh
Give us something. I
I was
guess
surprised they didn't play one after Original Sin
right.
wrapped. I would have swore that was gonna be like, "Stay tuned for sneak peek of, Dexter Resurrection."
Well, I guess because the opening of Original Sin was the prequel to Resurrection.
I don't know.
Anyone else worried that Harrison's gonna be a snot-nosed brat this season?
I mean, they have to be aware of the criticisms. That's the whole reason why they're doing this show again. If everybody loved the ending of New Blood, ratings be damned, they would just focus on spinoffs. I don't think they would bring him back again if they landed the plane. So unless they're just absolutely fucking ridiculous and stupid, and I give them way too much credit, which I have done before, um, I would assume that they know the main criticisms of New Blood, and one of the main ones was nobody really liked Harrison.
Well,
So
that and, like, the one thing for as much as I've been suggested content, the thing is the show that fucked up 2 endings. So,
yeah,
they
and
have to
even
know.
the announcement that they made when they announced Original Sin and they announced the Trinity prequel, the third one was New Blood season 2, like a Harrison
Yeah.
spinoff. And that one just universally everyone was like, "Fuck that. No."
Nope. Did I skip?
Huh?
Oh, I don't something froze on my end.
Oh, no, not on my end.
Okay. That's odd for my sake. Not knowing much about Resurrection behind the scenes, is it possible it's misdirection and just focusing on Harrison with Dexter as his dark passenger? Ugh.
No. That's the worst
Well,
possible
Harry's
thing.
in
If
it.
all of that is bullshit, and then it's a Harrison show where Michael C. Hall shows up in his head every once in a while, that would fucking infuriate people.
But isn't
No.
Harry in this season?
Yeah,
James
Harry's in it, and
Remore's in it.
Dexter's already been shown on set photos. He's the star of it. So, yeah,
It would
that's
be
not
a
gonna
big
happen.
fuck you though. Like,
Oh god.
oh, you
You're
don't
like,
like this one?
"God, man." Yeah.
Here you go. Here's 10 episodes of this kid you hate.
Like, do you or Sopranos hate your viewers more? Jesus Christ.
Oh, at least Sopranos, there's the artistic. Well, it's all there. You just didn't see it.
Yeah. Do you see this?
uh, Monty says they'll find a whole new way to mess up the ending. Really hope not, but history tells us they'll find a way. I,
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, Original Sin was safe, so I feel like they'll just do safety again, and I don't know, something that doesn't really push buttons because what their idea of challenging us is. I mean, Scott Buck is one, and Clyde Phillips is another. No, that's not good at all. Both of you go to timeout. Um, Marcy, as much as I like what they do with Original Sin, I'm just afraid they're going to beat a dead horse and keep fucking up Dexter. I'm just afraid.
I
Like,
think that's what all of
or
us are
all of us
afraid
are.
of, even if we really enjoy Original Sin, that's the fear.
Yeah, I think that's why. Like when I see all these positive, like someone was it you that told me that Original Sin's like rated an 8.9 on IMDb, and I'm like, it's not
Uh-uh,
that good.
wasn't me.
Like, that's one of those things where it's like, all right, I get it. You enjoy the fact that this thing you love is back and new, but it's not it's not great. Please, they're gonna take the wrong impression from that. They Kermit says, I wish we got more Batista. I think we kind of all like that's the one thing the dick tease in New Blood was like, here's Batista, and now we're gonna call Batista at the end and
Yeah.
glorified cameo. Uh, Zero faith in Clyde Phillips right now, saying only smart fans will like New Blood's ending.
Did he actually say that?
Yeah, I would like that quote somewhere, please, because that's awful. I saw something that Michael C. Hall said. I didn't want to be in the figure of a cross when I was on the ground because I didn't want people to relate it to another person who was dead on a cross. I was just like, that was the one thing you were concerned about?
Yeah.
The way you were laying down? Oh,
That
all
way he
right.
crossed his leg all weird.
Ugh.
Like, "You look like you've died having to take a piss." You're like, "Oh."
Yeah, Zayas is coming back. Sky says, "I'm pretty sure the dude who plays Batista is coming back." I think that was one of the
Yes.
early ones that they announced.
Yeah. Yeah, they announced Batista and Harrison right away.
Harrison, thank God. Gavin asks, "Do we know if Quinn or Masuka is coming back?"
They haven't announced them yet, if they are. I don't really know what they would do with either of them. I mean, Batista, it makes sense. He's the captain of Miami Metro now. Why he would be going to New York and pursuing shit. Quinn, I wouldn't be surprised if he fucking OD'd not too long after Deb died. And Masuka, I mean, the blood, the forensics guy is going to go investigate murders. I just don't see it.
I think if
Not
you
that I wouldn't like hate if they found a way to incorporate them at some point, but I don't think they're necessary.
I think if you lean into the fact that all of Dexter's secrets get unraveled, you could probably bring Quinn back a bit easier than anybody else because Quinn was, you know, thought Dexter was suspicious for season 5. So, kind of bring him back to be like, all right, what are your notes on when you thought Dexter was up to no good?
Yeah, maybe.
It,
That was always weird how that just kinda got swept under the rug. Like,
well, you did him a
basically, you
favor.
found out everything everything except for, "Yeah, this dude's a fucking killer," and he's just like, "Oh, yeah, thanks for the blood work.
Thanks for getting rid of
I'll
that
leave you alone
blood on
now."
my shoe.
Yeah,
Looked like self defense to me. Uh, do we know if a trailer for Resurrection will drop anytime soon? It premieres in June, right?
have
TikTok.
not heard
It
a word.
does premiere in June, but
I gotta assume it's gonna be soon. I mean, you want to have at least, like, a teaser trailer a few months out and then have, like, a full-blown trailer, like, the month before. They did that with New Blood where they showed, like, the graduation play on the Dexter intro, and then later on, they played the actual story trailer, like, 2 months later.
hmm, I don't remember that. All right, well, that's us talking about Michael C. Hall for about 45 minutes at the end there, and Cobra Kai. They're still filming. Yeah, they only started filming in January, Sky. So I don't know how long if they're going, what, 10 episodes?
I think so, yeah.
It might take them 3 months to film all this. I mean, the first episode's got to be done already. So that's probably ready to go. You could scour some footage from that.
Uh,
Yeah. So Cody, I think I asked you this already. Yeah. Are you overall looking forward? Moving forward, are you excited, mid, or eh,
I'm cautiously optimistic.
yeah.
I think they did a pretty decent job with Original Sin. I at least enjoyed watching it, and the story direction, at least what I the little bit that I can, speculate on for what Resurrection is gonna be does excite me a bit because it's like the most of it's just like the shit that we were asking for with the end of New Blood. It's like, why the fuck would you call him and then just not have him show up?
Yeah.
So I'm cautiously optimistic, and I have to try to have a little bit of faith that like, like the reason they made New Blood in the first place is because people were just so in unison with hating season 8 and hating that ending. And it's not much better with New Blood.
Mm,
So it's like you clearly hear the concerns. I just want to know what you're going to do about it.
yeah. Like a lot of us are here,
Mhm.
and just try. Go back to the notes, look at your old work, and kind of look at when things fell off, and just try to recreate. I'll keep saying that Dokes season 2, that tail end of season 2 was so powerful.
Yeah.
Or just make Dexter the antagonist and figure out whether it be Harrison, or I don't know. You got to Walter White him if you're gonna do 5 more seasons of this shit.
Mhm.
Um, Cody, what do you have coming up on your channel in the near future?
Provided that it gets approved by my sponsor, I have a video tomorrow to coincide with The Monkey because I've already reviewed it. My top 10 Stephen King movies. So that'll come out hopefully tomorrow. Beyond that, I don't really have much content planned at the moment for the rest of February. Yeah, none of that. So I have Mad Monster coming up this weekend. So I'm gonna be in Concord, North Carolina on Friday and Saturday for that. Robert Englund's gonna be there. Brad Dourif's gonna be there, Daniel Harris, a number of other people. So that should be fun. I'll probably do some kind of a vlog type video for that, like I did last year, and then you'll probably see me cameo in somebody else's video about 3 months afterwards. And then I have South by Southwest coming up very quickly in March, where they're gonna be premiering Death of a Unicorn and The
Mm.
Accountant 2,
Mm.
a couple of others that are more mainstream, and then, like, a whole bunch of indie horror stuff tends to premiere there. Like, last year, they premiered Asriel, and I saw the TV Glow and, a number of others. So, that's the next big thing coming, but, not a whole lot of new releases that I have on my calendar for a while. I think the next big new release is Mickey 17 on the 7th, and I don't really even
That
know
Bong
how.
Joon-ho, right?
Yeah, I don't even really know how I feel about that one. So, yeah, it's gonna be, it's that time of the year where it's a little bit slow. We had a whole bunch of horror this month, luckily, but, until I get to South by Southwest and figure out if anything's worth reviewing, March is kind of one of those up in the air months.
Has anybody told you about Popeye's Revenge? Because my supporters hate me.
Do what?
I said, "Has anyone told you about Popeye's Revenge?" Because my supporters hate me. I was,
Nope.
um, coerced into watching it, and it's better than, Mickey's Mousetrap, which is
Oh, well,
saying nothing.
thank God. Yeah. I'm already wet at the lips.
Yeah, so in case you need, to fall asleep anytime soon, there's that. Um, yeah, I will do someone asked, I think it was the same person that asked us to do the spoiler stream. The season 6, like, I started doing the beginning of the end with Dexter, and I'll go where the views are, and for me, that was a pretty strong video, so I'll talk about why season 6 fucked up the whole thematic purpose, and we'll keep going. That's sometime soon. But thank you to
It's a
all of
series of like, "This is how this season fucks shit up." Moving
just
on to season 6. "This is how this one fucks shit up."
yeah, 7 will be a little bit of a I think I have 7 being the parallel to season 2, but not quite the same,
Mhm.
and 8, I mean, that shit writes itself. But, yeah, thank you to all of you in the chat, for partaking. Thank you, Cody Leach. Thank you to the super chats, and, until next time, or I guess August when, maybe June when the premiere happens, and we'll wanna talk about it, but tonight's the night.
And it's gonna happen again and again and again and again and again.